Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Erwin Martin. I'm the Regional Vice President of Strategic Accounts here at Conversica, and I'm going to be presenting the preliminary results from our 2016 Sales Effectiveness Report on Lead Follow-Up. For those of you who attended earlier this year, you know we did a report from last year of 2015. We're going to do some quick comparison results. This is only a half-hour webinar. And the goal is just to share with you some of the results from what we found from our 2016 survey. So let's go back to where we were in 2015. Just to bring you back, we looked at 9 distinct industries across B2C and B2B over a 2-month period. That's about a 60-day window of time. We looked at 327 companies, both large size, mid-size, and small size. And what we did was we only did web-based or email inquiries. So basically what we did is we either submitted a web form and see if we got contacted by phone or by email, or if we didn't have a web form, we submitted an email to like sales@imanawesome.com, etc. And we only did it during the standard business days, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the time zones of which we were doing our research, which would be, of course, Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. Now, one of the first results that came out from that are the 327 companies we surveyed, 111 failed to respond at all. Okay, so these are companies that actually had web forms saying, hey, contact us so that we can sell to you. And then they failed to contact us. In 3 of the 9 industries, 33%, more than half the companies did not respond to a lead at all. And those are actually, if you look at it, it was mostly media, publishing, real estate, and brokerage. And what's interesting is the for-profit education space had 100% of all the companies that we attempted to contact actually connected with us, either one time or more than one time. Now, if you remember from the previous survey, the best practices for lead engagement follow what we call the 4 Ps. There's promptness, so you got to be fast to win. You can't be the Amish in the buggy. There's persistence. You've got to go beyond 1 or 2 tries. We found the optimum to be somewhere between 8 and 12. You got to be like that tree growing between the rocks. There's got to be some personalization when you're reaching out to them, whether it be on the phone or by email. Prospects want a conversation, not necessarily a marketing promotion. And then the last piece is you've got to have performance. An email and the spam filter looks like a non-response to a lead. And so those are the 4 Ps that we looked at in our report in 2015. And if we look at the results at a glance, you can see where things sort of played out for some of the different organizations. So let's look at what the averages were. So promptness, that's speed to contact. The average time was about 52 hours. So that if you think about it, that's about 2.5 days, well, roughly 2 days and 4 hours to get back in response. The best companies actually got back to us within 5 minutes. On the persistence factor, most companies, the average result was about 4 to 5 attempts. So that's either 1 or 2 phone calls, 1 or 2 emails, maybe 1 phone call, 3 emails, etc. The best companies actually got back after 8 attempts. That's what they did with us. And the personalization, we actually have 4 factors of personalization, right? An email address you actually can respond to, a subject line that's personalized, no heavy HTML content, very short and simple sort of messaging that drives to one call to action. The best companies actually had all 4 of those. Most companies average on 1 or 2. And if you think about it, you know, more than 1/3 of the companies that we surveyed, so this is going across B2C and B2B, as well as both, you know, multinational companies, mid-sized companies, small companies, didn't respond in the first 24 hours. And speed is of the essence. If you remember from Velocify, InsideSales.com, Serious Decisions, all those companies talk about, you know, speed is of the essence of connecting with a prospect to actually sell them, because they're not just shopping with you, they're shopping with everybody else as well too, and who gets to you first normally wins. Now, a majority of respondents made no more than 2 attempts to contact us before giving up. Nearly half of those email did not take advantage of the initial contact to create a personal connection, which means they sent either an autoresponder or a heavily HTML-laden marketing campaign. And 40% of D companies, so we did an A, B, C, D, and F grading, relied primarily on the phone. They were heavy phone users, no email users. and 63% of the phone users had the lowest persistence score. They only had one attempt. Basically, they're dialing through a number of leads in such rapid pace that they're not going to go back again. And the phone channel, if you think about it out there, is a really, really crowded place. And when someone's getting their phone blown up, they're less likely to respond to anybody. Hence, perhaps maybe you want to mix up and diversify with some email. So let's start talking about what we did in 2016. So do the same exact thing. We actually got more companies this time across the 9 industries. So as opposed to 327, we got 538 companies that we surveyed. We're going to talk to you about what's changed and what's improved and what's gotten worse. And what's interesting is actually we have a very positive response to initial lead follow-up from the research report we did last year, and the response also coming up as well for this year for us as well too. Now, there's some interesting things that came out of the 2016 survey. Well, the sad thing is when it comes to promptness, people have not gotten faster, they've gotten slower. And again, if you think about it, if you connect with someone in the first 5 minutes of when they fill out a web form, and I'm not talking about an autoresponder, I'm not talking about a power dialer that's going to burn through the phone right away. I'm talking about a true legitimate connection where your business development rep or SDR is reaching out to that lead in a very personalized sort of fashion. Their chance of qualifying that into an opportunity is about 2,000%. After that, it drops dramatically in half, very fast. The half-life of that lead starts to die pretty quickly. And what we found is only 6.5% of companies in 2016 actually did. So that's a 1.5% drop. That's full points. So it used to be 8%. Now it's dropped down to 6.5% from 2015. So these are some of the same companies we surveyed last year plus more, and it's dropped. Now, we'll dig deeper into the results in a much more deeper webinar, but you could safely assume maybe it's because we had a larger breadth of ends, number of companies, or maybe things are changing because now the phone is a channel that's become way, way overworked. Now, the other interesting thing as well too is persistence also dropped as well. Only 5% of the companies that we surveyed in 2016 had a really good persistence, and over 30% more companies versus last year actually received failing grades. Remember, a failing grade, D's may get you degrees, but they also can help you fail, D's and F's in the persistence category. And that means they either did 1 or 2 attempts, and that's about it. They gave up. So, which is pretty sad because persistence is also important, as so is speed to engaging the lead. Now, a bright spot of the 2016 survey that we did was personalization's actually gotten better. So, and no more of those sort of mass canned templated emails going out there, but ones that call out what the person did, a specific call to action, one sort of question driving them to sort of answer, maybe one value proposition, nothing too salesy, nothing too markety. It's actually improved, and it's increased over 40%. And those who had gotten Fs, and we had quite a few in our 2015 report, have also gone down as well too. Now, why is that? Interesting question. I think most people are starting to realize that, big mass marketing emails that get blasted out when someone comes to your contact form isn't the best thing to do. And a lot of the inside sales teams are training their reps now not to Christmas tree every piece of collateral into an email, but really sort of drip it out where it makes sense when that opportunity is created or where that person is in the lead follow-up stage. But again, sadly to say, domains are getting burned a little bit faster, and performance is actually going down. It's actually getting harder and harder now, not only to get someone on the phone, but to also get into their inbox as well too. And if you think about it, if you're a lead, you registered for this webinar, so technically speaking, you are a lead, you're going to get a follow-up presentation about this. You're going to get maybe a marketing drip campaign based on what you've done on your lead score and so forth. All of that combines into sort of lowering some of the performance when you're getting hit by multiple things. So those are some of the preliminary results we have from the 2016 survey, and it looks like you guys agree that persistence is very important. I now would like to open it up for some questions, and if you want to take our secret shopping survey, you can do so at that link below. I'll leave that up there. That's con.ai/secret slash 4P hyphen assessment hyphen request. I'll leave it up there and we'll leave it now, make it open for questions from the audience. And I already have one right now, which says, when you say failed to contact, does that mean not even an email was sent in response? That is exactly correct. I mean, they got nothing. Like nobody said anything. Not even a signal flare, not even a smoke signal, not even a semaphore, nothing. Next question. We don't have a large lead volume and we follow up with every lead using lead scoring with Marketo. Is that sufficient? It can be sufficient from some aspect of things. Unfortunately, not all the time, because if you're doing lead scoring, you can have a false negative. So a good example is freemium software companies, large volume of leads, small team, they hyper focus on the right people, but a lot of people will come in on a Gmail address or a Yahoo address and they get scored low, but they actually could be somebody who may be buying from you because savvy buyers will mask who they are because they don't want to get harassed. Let's see. Is there a printed version of the report and can you get it? There will be a printed version coming out. We will follow up with anyone who's attending here with a printed version of the report when we do the full launch of that report, but you're going to get it. Let's see, what industries did particularly well? What industries did particularly poorly? Do you have any idea maybe why? Well, I can talk to you about the 2015 and what sort of replicated itself in 2016. In the B2C space, the best industry overall that had the best in promptness, personalization, as well as persistence, automotive. And think about it, it's a high ticket item. You're gonna buy a $30,000, $40,000 car. If I can get you on the lot in the car, you're most likely gonna buy. And they did best across the B2C and the B2B space. In the B2B space, the industries that did really well were technology. Marketo, Salesforce, and other ones did very, very well. Things that did poorly, insurance, believe it or not. And one reason why is because they're powering through a lot of different leads. And so did other sort of B2C like mortgage and real estate, again, known to have poor lead follow-up and continue to have poor lead follow-up. Why? I don't know. Maybe they think you should be coming to them. I don't think that's the right thing though. If a company is starting a sales organization from ground zero, what's the most important category? Speed, persistence of the 4 Ps, would you say? I would say the most important category, if you were to ask me, would be persistence first and then speed, because you want people to go for the long tail to be able to fill that pipeline considerably. And most sales reps give up really, really easily. Speed's pretty quick to do. You can put someone on a power dialer. You can use a tool like Conversica, which is our own, which uses artificial intelligence. That's easy to get the speed component done. It's getting your sales team ready to persist beyond just the 1 or 2 touches. What tools do you use or you've seen your best customers use? So we use a mix of our own product, which is Conversica, which is an artificial intelligence sales assistant. We also use a power dialer called DialSource. Most of our customers use a combination of our tool plus a power dialer plus an outreach sort of email component as well too when they're doing outbound prospecting, and they also do some predictive scoring. All of them work very well. I couldn't get on till late. Will you be able to see this again? Yes, we are going to have a recording of this and you can relive it in all your glory. And then also there's a drinking game to it, which is around how many times I say so. Did automated emails count as a response when counting the average numbers of responses? Yes, it did. So an autoresponder does count as a response. Unfortunately, it also hurts your personalization score. How can I find out my company was a secret shop for the research? And if not, will there be another one, and how can I participate in it? This is a very large question from this individual. He's a very detailed person. What can I do to improve performance? It seems like my domain is burned. It's burned. Yeah, okay. Well, there is going to be, you can go to the link down below. That will register you if you want to participate in our next survey. It takes about 30 days to get registered, and it takes about a 60-day time frame to do it. And then you will be able to participate in this survey. Now, what can you do to improve performance? Well, the one thing you can do to improve performance when it comes to your domain is to not blast from your domain repeatedly. And that goes for everyone in the organization, not just marketing, but also sales. So if you're on the marketing side, be sure to know what your sales guys are using when it comes to email tools, because it's not uncommon for them to load up a list and then just spam away. Tools like Outreach.io, SendBloom, ToutApp, they're really great at creating some custom sort of templates, not custom, but more sort of managed templates, let's put it this way. But it's not uncommon for reps to load up a list without thinking through and then blasting, and that will actually burn your domain. Plus all the sort of marketing drip emails that you do that are not sort of updated, make sure your content's constantly updated and so forth, can also add to that. and then just buying a list and batching and blasting will just add to the effect. Remember, bird domain, it comes from the fact that you're getting lots of spam complaints across all the different ISPs out there. That is our ESPs, your email service providers, and your IPs out there as well too. And they are voting back that your domain stinks, and it's very, very hard to get it fixed. So if it's truly burned, time to scrap it and start a new domain, and then start slowly, just slowly warm the domain up before you start doing your blasts. Is there any way to gauge lead burnout, or how to know when you're sending too many emails? That is an excellent, excellent question. The first sort of response would be when they mark you as spam. The second response would be when they respond back, please, Lord Jesus, stop emailing me. I've had enough. That would normally be the other case as well too. A good example is know what your cadence is and your tempo. So we talk about speed to contact, then we're talking about persistence, and they're not diametrically opposed to each other, but they sometimes can appear to be that way. We're first saying, hey, you got to contact that person in the first 5 minutes, or wow, you're going to lose a chance at a major opportunity. Now, that's true. But then the other factor is what happens day 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7? That's the most important piece. What is your cadence? What's your call cycle to get in front of that lead? And as you're working through that and want to know, you need to sort of think through, okay, we get speed to contact first. I want to make sure I touch them in the first 5 minutes. Perhaps I will do one more follow-up, maybe a few hours after, if it's at the end of the day, the following next morning, and then sort of space it out. And make sure, again, your marketing team and your sales team align on that cadence so that it's not too much, but also not too little. And that's something you have to do with a lot of testing. As marketers will tell you, it's all about testing, like mad scientists. Looks like you work for Conversica. What does Conversica do, and how does it help with the 4 Ps? Well, yes, I do work for Conversica. I'm not just an RVP out there gun for hire. We actually help with the 4 Ps on the persistence part, on the performance part as well too, on the personalization because the AI presents itself as a human being, and also on the speed to contact. We actually reach out on the best use case scenario within the first 5 minutes. In terms of persistent, what is a good time frame between each attempt at contact? That's an excellent question. I think it goes back to the previous one around gauging lead burnout. Really tough. I wish I could say there was a magic bullet out there. It's like those old days when Twitter first started. It used to say the best time to tweet was like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's not necessarily the case. It's more around your industry and your customers and what sort of works for you. Let's say what's not good. Lead comes in, you reach out the first 5 minutes, then there's radio silence for a week. Obviously, that's not good. Best case scenario is reach out in the first 5 minutes. If no response, if it's in the morning, follow up in late afternoon. If it happens in the afternoon, follow up in the previous morning, and then go into the sort of, maybe 1 or 2 day sort of difference and sort of elongate it out over a period of time. I can personally test you as someone who gets sold to. I like a good sort of conversation to go. Sometimes I like to test other SDRs to see if they're really committed to their product. I know it's a little bit mean, but more importantly, whatever you do, don't end with I like to call the passive aggressive, you never contacted or never responded back to me, you're either dead, eaten by an alligator, blah, 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 that type of stuff. A good call to action, a good appeal to my needs, which is tough to kind of discover because you haven't talked to me yet, is very helpful. And spreading it out is also important as well too. Usually get a 2 to 3 day window between emails. What is the sweet spot for follow-up attempts? Again, excellent question. I think the sweet spot is around 8 to 12. So if you had to choose, I would say choose 9. It's my favorite number. When you say personalization, what does that look like? What's a well-personalized message look like? And a poorly done one. All right, poorly done one. I'll mimic for you right now. Hey, you, thanks for registering for the webinar. Would you like to talk to somebody? That's kind of pretty poor sort of personalization. Good personalization is, hey, Erwin, you just attended a webinar about the 4 Ps, and we'd like to tell you more. Are you interested in learning more about the 4 Ps? All right, I'm doing it on the fly. Maybe it's not the best personalization, but much better than the previous one. It comes from a person, it's important, right? You have an email address you can go to, refers to your inquiry, which I just did right there, addresses me personally by name, right? The action I took, and also a way to, sort of personally connect back with me. Would you like to set up a phone call? Would you like to, learn more information, those type of things. Those are sort of the 4 parts of the personalization that occurs out there as well. Time for lots of good questions, all very good. Any more questions? You say persistence is important. Why aren't companies more persistent? I don't know. Could be lead volume, too many leads coming into their funnel, not enough time to follow up with. Could be a misinterpretation. I know I've seen this a lot in the insurance space, that if they don't connect in the first day, they're not going to close and bind them. That's because the lead actually gets sold 4 or 5 different ways, and it's all around the dialing program. And by that time, going back to lead burnout, they've been hit by 4 or 5 people on the phone. They'll just take the first one that comes and sounds good. They won't actually really even shop across. They're almost overwhelmed. In the tech space, I think persistence is hard because sometimes someone comes in, they don't necessarily look like the right sort of duck, or they may not quack like the right duck, and therefore the rep kind of gives up. Do you have any insights on B2B? How to manage a decision maker you cannot communicate with? Ooh, that's an excellent question. There's a number of great books about getting behind the hidden person behind that one. That's a really good one. In the B2B space, it's still about the persistence. It's still about the speed to contact. And more importantly, it's about the personalization to really find out if not only if they're the right person, but who also may be involved as well too. I know the gentleman that did the challenger customer and the challenger sale, they say on average is about 5 to 7 people who are deciding what's going on in the background. You may only be talking to the 1 or 2 and not really see who those other decision makers are, but you have to speak to them as well too. So knowing who your customers are is very important. Driving to that first conversation, if you can get it, will really help you to get there. I know probably not the best answer, but one I can come up with because that was a really good question. You talked about the 2015 results and a little bit about the 2016 results. Do you have any predictions for 2017? Well, I think we'll see more lowering on persistence, promptness, and probably a continued decrease in performance. I see you'll probably see more hyper personalization, so that'll probably increase. But that's all, just kind of, gut feeling going on there. All right, 2 minutes left. Any time for last questions? Last questions. Going once, going twice, but not going 3 times a lady. Thank you all very much for participating with me on the 2016 results, reviewing the 2015 results, also putting up with all my bad jokes. Oh, thank you very much for the doing a great webinar. I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment. And again, you will be getting a recording of this webinar as well as a copy of the reports, both for 2015 and 2016. And my lovely assistant is going to sign us off. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Strong selling and closing for August.